Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering video. So we're at another set Musings, and this is one for Judgement. So this is the third set from the Odyssey block. It's a small set, as you can see here, 143 cards, and that composes 55 commons, 44 uncommons and 44 rares. No basic lands in here because of course the basic lands are always taken from the large set of the block, the first set. So some stuff to look out for: Advocates, Graveyard Matters cards, Incarnations, Nightmares, Phantoms, Punisher, Wishes, Flashback and Threshold. So as always, the way I'm going to go through this is I'll sort of slice and dice it. So we'll look at certain slices on themes, we'll look at cycles as well, and we'll look at things like prices and relevance to EDH, all the usual good things. So I would start off here with just a main page with all 43 cards on it, or sorry, all 143 cards on it in colour order, and I'm just going to scroll through because it gives you a nice overview of the artwork. I know I'm always interested in seeing the consistency of the artwork and the sort of theme of the art, if you know what I mean. So yeah, this particular Kefalid artwork was pretty consistent across the block as a whole, because it looks like Kefalid's cropped up in all the sets in some form. Just scroll down, and again I'll be slicing through all of these in a moment, so we'll get ideas. You can sort of see we got some tribal stuff going on, as we've seen in other sets in the block. And again, you see in the top corner there, that's the tombstone card. Tend to find those on flashback cards in the set. We'll be talking about Incarnations as well. They're interesting cards from this set. And there's a few multicoloured cards here. Looks like, well, basically in green, white. And we got some non-basic lands. So let us slice and dice away. So first up, I just want to bring up these advocates. They all have advocate in the name. Across here. So these are creatures with activated abilities that return cards from an opponent's graveyard to their hand for a beneficial effect to you or a detrimental effect to an opponent. 5 advocates, but they're only in white or green. So you can see here's the effect. It's all tap and do something. So all I've done here is I mentioned about it being a graveyard deck. I've basically searched for everything where graveyard is somewhere in the text. And you can see here we've got that spread not quite evenly, but it's spread throughout the colours. There's no colour it's missing in, and you can see, as we've pointed out before with this block, it is in graveyard effects in some cards more than others. Of course, now because the oracle text or the text on newer cards would have changed slightly, we're not going to see. So we're going to see cards where it in the text, the rules text, it's talking about interacting in some way with the graveyard. What it's not going to bring up is cards that go to the graveyard, or like an enter the graveyard effect, because under the new, under revised oracle text, it would say something like dies instead. In fact, let's just have a look. Just see if, so that'll bring up anything where it would say put into graveyard. So that's not too bad actually. Not. I suppose if I was being clever here, what you could do, it's always good to just show you how these commands work. So O means oracle, or oracle text, which is basically it's anything that appears in here but has been updated accordingly to reflect newer rules or newer types of ways of wording things. Yeah, so if I do that, you can see adds in a few of those extra cards. That probably the card there's only seems to have added two. Probably that one of the three probably had both dies and graveyard on it. Anyway, it's a bit more completist if I do that, but that'll give you some idea of stuff that cares about dying, going to the graveyard, or just cares about interacting with the graveyard in general. So here we have a number of incarnations in here, and you can see, although they're represented across all colours, we've got an additional one in white and an additional one in green. So these have a static ability, or static abilities that are active as long as they're in the graveyard. Some of these have additional conditions of their controllers, controlling a basic land of a specific type. Each incarnation form and material is based on a creature type that's appropriate to their ability and colour. So I'm just going to look at one of these, dive a little deeper. Interesting. There is no subtype. Now, in terms of the cycle within the incarnations, it's the valor, wonder, filth, anger, brawn. Just looking down here, why these are not, even though they're incarnations. Sorry, even though they are incarnations, how they differ from the actual cycle. It looks like, so with these ones there's an additional cost. With these ones, just the presence in the graveyard is sufficient to activate that. The other thing is, I've got them all here. These ones in the part of the cycle are actually all at uncommon. The two others are at rare. But as I've said, they need some sort of extra payment to activate this in the graveyard effect. We've got nightmares in the set. Looks like only in blue and red. There's a nightmare dragon there. So you see an interesting thing with phantoms. They're only in green or white, or green and white. Star 0 spirit creatures that come into play with a fixed number of +1/+1 counters and prevent damage that will be dealt to them at a cost of removing a +1/+1 counter from them. This ability, in addition to aggressive costing, provided a host of durable and resilient creatures that were inordinately powerful and difficult to deal with. I'm reading straight from the Wikipedia, not the Wikipedia, the MTG Wiki article there. So you can see it's in order that obviously this doesn't die when it enters the battlefield. That's where the obviously the +1/+1 counters help. So it comes into play with a number of counters on it, and obviously that pumps its, most importantly, its toughness up to the sufficient level. I mean, it does pump both power and toughness, but with the toughness, once it gets to 0 or below, it's gonna die. So you can see here, damage will be dealt to Phantom Nomad. Prevent that damage. Remove a +1/+1 counter from Phantom Nomad. And they're all that same sort of template. There's obviously some variability on the number of counters, whether there's additional abilities on there. This one has protection from black. So these are flashback cards. 3 in white, 3 in blue, a black one, 4 in red, and 5 in green. And we've seen this before. You can see that in terms of flashback cost itself, it's all over the map. Sometimes there's a particular casting cost. Oh, this one just cares about flashback, and you can sort of tell the ones which have flashback on them and which ones care about flashback because of the presence of this tombstone symbol. Yep, sacrifice a creature, there the cost is. Sacrifice a mountain. It's got a cost on it. What else have we got? Tap 3, untap white creatures you control. So quite a bit of variability in the cost of in the flashback cost. You'll also notice as well on some of these cards, threshold is a thing as well, in addition to flashback. Not all of them, some of them. And if you remember, if it's gonna, I don't know if it's done out here. So threshold was dictated by the number of cards in your graveyard. So here it's expanded out in the Oracle text. So create 4/2/2 green bear creature tokens. Instead, if 7 or more. So that was a key thing to threshold. To trigger threshold was 7 or more cards are in your graveyard. So obviously again wanting to get stuff in the graveyard. And here's the threshold cards. So 17 of those, 4 in white, 5 in black, 3 red, 3 green, 1 in green white, and also one attached to a non-basic land. And of course, if you meet the threshold criteria, then something good happens in addition to other things. You can see again it's attached to a whole load of different things here. We've got some on creatures, some on instants, sorceries. There's an enchantment one there. So this one is a 2/2 for 3. If you have threshold, then it gets +2/+2. There might be also an additional cost as well here. So threshold, put 3 cards from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. Battlefield surrounding gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Play this ability only once each turn. Again, it's reminding you that the ability to do this, you only play this ability if you meet the threshold criteria. So, what do we have here? This is a cycle of 1 CMC sacrificial creatures. So, Benevolent Bodyguard, Hapless Researcher, Cabal Trainee, Dwarven Scorcher, Ignore the Liberated Dwarf, and Crozen Wayfarer. They're all 1 to cast. They're all 1/1s. They're all at common. And you sack it and then get some sort of effect. It's interesting that there's actually 2 here. But apparently this is part of the cycle and this isn't. Oh, I see why. This is an additional cost on it, I suppose. So all of these just strictly, you have to sacrifice it. This one, it's a cost, and you have to sacrifice it. So here's our cycle of incarnations within the earlier incarnations. It's a lot clearer here to see the templating. And you can see not only do you have to have this in your graveyard, but you have to control a basic land of the appropriate colour, or a land of the appropriate colour, which identifies itself as a plains. Because there are some basic lands, obviously, but there are some non-basic lands that would have a land type on them. A land type of plains. Island, swamp, mountain, and forest. Cycle of wishes. So these are all up rare. And you can see you choose something from outside the game. Reveal that card. Reveal the card. I think. Except for this one here. Choose a card you own from outside the game and put it into your hand. You lose half your life rounded up. Remove Death Wish from the game. So what you're doing is you're sort of trading something outside of the game with something in the game. In this case, the in the game card is this one. So in the context of tournaments, the cards in your how it works is if you're in a tournament setting, then obviously that's going to be cards in the sideboard. Outside of tournaments, then it's cards in your collection, technically. So I suppose if you're playing with these cards, you want to make sure you're playing to tournament rules. Things could get very interesting. So some vertical cycles. We've got some gorges in red. Common, uncommon, rare. They're all nightmares. They all have an enter the battlefield ability, comes into play ability. And they all have a leaves the battlefield ability as well. See what that looks like on once it's been oracled. Yeah, so it is exactly that. Enters the battlefield and leaves the battlefield. Worm Fangs, vertical cycle in blue. Yep, and again, Nightmares comes into play. You can see that on all the cards, and leaves play on all the cards. A few have additional abilities, so the Worm Fang Crab is unblockable. These ones here are flying. It's interesting because these two here, remove a land you control, so it's like having an additional cost. When one from total is a perfect exile, exile a land you control. Oh, that will remove all cards in your hand from the game. So yeah, you have to give up something. Oh yeah, you're losing a resource until. Oh, and then you get it back when it. Okay, so yeah, I see now. So the idea is that these are, for the time, fairly aggressively costed, I suppose. And as a downside to that, there is a downside. You have to give up a resource temporarily, and then when it leaves play, you get it back. Mirrored pair here. Defy gravity and canopy claws. You can see both instants. One's in blue, one's in green. Both have a flashback of one of a particular colour of the colour identity of the card. And target creature gains flying until end of turn. Target creature loses flying until end of turn. So mirrored pair. Here's all our instants in the set. So you can see here we've got things like Chastise, destroy target attacking creature, gain life equal to its power. The sort of cards do crop up a lot in white across sets. Tap down, damage prevention, enchantment, destruction. Obviously we've seen the wishes. Where's our counter spells? There you go. Oh, counter from a graveyard. Okay. Countering target sorcery spell. Card draw. It's conditional there. Yeah, some conditional counter spells here as well. What we got? Instant speed black. We got any removal? Oh, -1/-1. If you have threshold, it will destroy the creature. Some graveyard stuff. Okay, what's that? Instant speed direct damage. Ember shot. Whoa. 6 and a red. That's pretty steep. 3 damage to target creature or player, and you get to draw a card. Damage from Lava Dart. 1 damage for 1. With flashback on it. Got grave. Sort of a. Is that like a version of Fog for the grave? Well, no, Fog does damage, but it's interesting. It's like stifling, or is it silence? Silence for graveyards? Well, actually, it's asymmetrical, isn't it? Because you can play cards from their graveyards as though they're in your graveyard. That's pretty interesting, actually. Oh, yeah. Losing flight loss in green. Life gain. Reclamation spell. pump spell. So that's our instant speed shenanigans. Let's have a look at sorcery speed tokens. Oh, there's our wish. So the wish is, we're instants and sorceries. Okay, we've got some library shenanigans going on in blue. Yep. Some more in black there. Oh yeah, so sorcery speed graveyard stuff. Damage spells in red at sorcery speed. Got some tokens. Oh, there's another token there. Token generator, and one here. There's our wishing green. We saw that earlier. And enchantment destruction. Oh, sorry, no. Destroy target enchanted permanent. So it destroys a permanent that has been enchanted. Here's our enchantments. 18 cards that are doing a manner of different things, and there was a couple in green white here. So we got a few pump spells going on. Just looking to see whether there's any lockdown. There's an alternative win condition here. Test of endurance. Got some lockdown enchantment in blue here, and a variation on the creature one that we often see in blue. So yeah, we've got some pump enchantments in red and in green. Oh look, and there's a win condition in green. Some coin flips there as well. Two alternative win conditions at least. Yeah, that's something I've not really highlighted that much up in the past actually, is alternate win conditions. Except where I sort of, randomly notice them. I don't specifically go looking for them. Here's all our creatures. There's 74 of them, and you can see here we've got a number of different creature types: nomads, clerics, combinations, bird soldiers. We've mentioned bird soldier legend, commander Isha, bird soldier spirit, more clerics, birds, antelope, angel. Oh, here's our cephalids. Nightmares, zombie dwarf legend, more dwarves. Yeah, a lot of dwarves in this set. There's a couple of beasts, centaur. Yeah, let's see what we've got in the next block of cards. Druids, insect druids, insect spirit, cat spirit, wizard, insect druid, legend, a worm, and more beasts. Okay, you can see the usual things like we've got like mana generating creatures, things like that as well. There's quite a lot of abilities on stuff. And we've seen here there's a few threshold creatures as well. Here's our non-basic lands, one of which has threshold on it. So we've got one that adds colourless mana to your mana pool, and it will turn this in. So the threshold and paying green white will turn this into a 4/4 green and white creature token with a 4/4 green and white creature with first strike until end of turn. It's still a land. So no, it's not spitting out tokens, it just turns it into a creature. Restone Portal. So as long as it's in the graveyards, this is interesting. Lands you control have add green or white to your mana pool, add one colourless mana to your mana pool. Croson Verge comes into play tapped, add one colourless mana to your mana pool, 2 tap, sacrifice Croson Verge, search your library for forest card and a plains card and put them into play tapped, and then shuffle your library. Here's our legends. We don't have them, it doesn't look like they're not in all 5 colours. We've got Commander Isha, which is the one in white, Balthor the Defiled, which is the one in black, Jeska Warrior Adept is the red one, and Thriss Nantuko Primus is the green one. It's got protection from creatures. Ooh. All minions get +1/+1. Yeah, there's quite a few, I think, minions in the set, in the block as a whole, actually. And back to the whole set. It's pretty interesting. Cage mail. I'm just going to slowly scroll through in case there's anything I've not picked up. I think I've looked at most things, but yeah, you'll definitely notice here there's lots of opportunities for graveyard interactions going on. Now, Sylvan Safekeeper, was that? What was the something special about that? Oh, that was Ollie Raid's. Sorry if I've mangled that pronunciation of his name. Ollie Raid's invitational card. Didn't he have? I thought he had another one. Or am I getting him muddled up? Somebody else. I'm sure he had 2 now, because maybe I'm getting muddled up here. Yeah, he must have. I'm just looking at the list, the Magic Invitational winners and their cards. 96 to 97. Sylvan Safekeeper. For some bizarre reason, I thought he was also featured on another card, but I must have got muddled up there. I just always remember there being a red card with his likeness on it as well. But maybe that wasn't an invitational. Maybe that was for something else. Damn. Oh, I thought that was, I thought he'd got a card with him like in a wizard's outfit, but someone can remember the card that I'm thinking of. Can you help me out and put it in the comment section? I was aware that this card was in the set, Sylvan Safekeeper, but as soon as I saw it, I just thought, yeah, I'm sure there's another card with his likeness on as well, for some reason. Okay, so there we go. And now on to our usual, let's look at the prices. So Mirari's Wake, most expensive card in the set at the moment. This could of course change. 24.48. And we got Test of Endurance. That's only ever been printed once. 1996, or in one set. Sylvan Safekeeper did actually crop up in a commander deck, interestingly enough. There's one in the World Champ decks. 1532. What does he do? Single green, 1/1. Sacrifice a land. Target creature you control can't be the target of spells or abilities this turn. Okay. Epic Struggle. Did have a promo for Magic Online, but apart from that, only in Judgement. 1425. World Gorger Dragon. Yeah, I do remember this being in Eternal Masters. And that was Vintage Masters, was an online only set. Pretty sure I did draft that actually. Judgement. Solitary Confinement, Modern Horizons, and also was a promo within that. It's 12.78 for the Judgement version. Hunting Grounds, 11.59. So by the time we get to seed time, we've dropped below the 10 bucks. So yeah, again, not eye-wateringly expensive cards, and it's interesting Mirari's way, because you can see here it's been reprinted a few times. It's the most reprinted one when you compare it to the other ones in here. And then looking at bearing those things in mind and looking at where cards crop up on EDH Rec. You can see here Mirari's Wake's the second one, Croson Verge first on the list. And then we've got things like Anger. Yeah, you're going to see, if you look at it from the perspective of EDH, you're going to see a lot of these Incarnations. Popular cards. It's great as well because you can just choose not to play it, and just wait for your hand to fill up, and then if it gets above 7 and you don't have any cards up, increase the amount of hand, you can just discard it to your graveyard and then get the effect. So that's the set. One final thing to just talk about is there's our upcoming Deck Durdle episode. So I've got it ready to go. I've got my Judgement card pool. The scan looks a bit wobbly, but anyway, or a bit grainy, should I say. So something to look forward to on Wednesday, when the week this goes out. And let's jump ahead. So here's our Judgement theme decks. Theme decks in the set was Air Razors, Inundation, nearly couldn't say that, Pain Flow, Spectral Slam. So 4 theme decks as always, and why not give the thing away? So there was a mono white theme deck in there. Let me find that. There it is. Inundation. Oh look, it's got Commander Aisha in it. Well, we have a commander, so of course the obvious thing to do is to use that as our commander fodder deck. So I've obviously removed all of the duplicates at the moment. I've also sideboarded this card. I was going to put this in it. I don't think, was that in the, it wasn't in the original. Yeah, it wasn't in the original, so it's ready there for me to drag that in. I figured all bird soldiers get +1/+1. Why wouldn't you want that in here? It's in the, that one's in the block, so yeah, I'll put that in as well. Anyway, something to look forward after this goes out on the Monday of this week. The same week we'll have an episode of the Deck Durdle on the Wednesday and an episode of Commander Fodder on that Friday. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.